if you truly believe that Allah is the King of Kings, Allah is the most powerful being ever imagined, then Allah has power to change your affairs overnight. If you stand by Islam, if you stand firmly on this deen and not compromise and not sell your deen for petty gains, then Allah can benefit you in ways you cannot imagine, because He is the King. So if you truly believe in His power and His majesty, none of the kings of this world will ever be able to harm you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Abdullah bin Abbas, Ya ghulam, oh young man, listen, if the whole of this universe gets together, they cannot harm you except what Allah has decreed for you. And if they get together to benefit you, all of them, they cannot benefit you except what Allah has decreed for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. Those who say Allah is my Rabb and they are firm on that, ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة, Allah sends angels upon them who tell them, fear not, grieve not, as your abode is Jannah. Your abode is Jannah. You got nothing to worry. A Muslim, a believer, has nothing to lose. A believer is never in a loss. A believer is never in a state of loss. When a musibah, a trouble comes his way, he says, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. When something good comes his way, he says, Alhamdulillah. There's nothing wrong, ever wrong with a believer. A believer can never be depressed. A believer can be in pain, but never be depressed. You will never find a believer who is depressed. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah was brought in front of Mu'tasim Billah, one of the Abbasid kings, a very strong, powerful man. Such a powerful man that the Byzantines, the Romans, used to pay him tax. And the Roman emperor used to wee in his pants. Excuse the French. You know, when he used to hear his name. Harun al-Rashid, you know how he used to talk to the Roman king, the emperor? He wrote a letter to him because the Roman emperor taunted the Khalifa. He said to him, Ila min Amir al-Mu'mineen Harun Rashid, Ila Kalb al-Rom. From the leader of the believers, Harun al-Rashid, to the dog of Rome. This is how he used to talk to. These people are nothing. What can they do? It is Allah who does everything. Mu'tasim Billah was a very strong guy. There are reports about him that when he used to strike someone with a sword, the sword used to go as far as the waist. And he brought Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Khafif, thin man, a scholar of hadith, a very humble, thin man. Okay, Sheikh, why don't you listen to us? Why don't you submit? Why don't you give up? Why don't you say what we are saying? This was an issue of doctrine, Aqidah. And Imam Ahmad said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, give me something from the Quran or the Sunnah, I will submit. I will listen to what you have to say. But if you don't have nothing from the Quran and Sunnah, bring what you want. Then Mu'tasim Billah to terrorize the Imam, to drive terror into his heart, brings two people and execute them in front of him. He tells his executioners, kill them in front of him. And now the message is, you're next. You're next. And what does this man do? Because he is a servant of hadith, an imam of such caliber that to this day his collection is the largest collection of hadith on the face of the earth. Musnad Ahmad. Is that correct, Sheikh? There were bigger collections, but they've been lost. 28,000 hadith is survived because he was sincere. He was not a king. He was not a caliph or an emperor. He was a very thin, miskeen, humble, weak man physically. But spiritually, he was as strong as a mountain. So the Khalifa couldn't shake him. When these two men were executed in front of him, he turned to the man sitting next to him, a student of Imam Shafi'i. He said to him, what was the opinion of Imam Shafi'i about wiping over the socks? Allahu Akbar. This man is about to die. You know, when you think you're going to be executed in next 5-10 minutes, whatever, yeah? Do you think you would be thinking about wiping over socks? You would be thinking about your ghusl or your wudu or your salah. Of course, unless you have iman. Unless you have iman. But this man is so very free. He doesn't care what Mu'tasim is going to do or what the executioner is going to do. I want to learn even in this time. What was the opinion of Imam before he loses the opportunity, because he was going back to the prison. Okay, so here is a student of Imam Shafi. What was his opinion about socks? Wiping over them. Subhanallah. These people, they couldn't defeat him. They perished. Mamun died. Mu'tasim died. Wathiq Billah died. All of these Khulafa, three of them who were torturing him, persecuting him, died, perished. But the fourth one who came to power, he came to apologize. He said, Imam, please forgive me and my ancestors. They were wrong. This is tawakkul. They believed in the power of Allah. Imam Ahmad believed in the power and the majesty and the kingship of Allah. That's why he wasn't shaken. So those who truly believe in Allah's power, His kingship, His majesty, will never submit to any pressure. Doesn't matter. Bring mountains. One of the sheikhs who was imprisoned in Egypt, the Egyptian authorities, now they are paying the price. They said to the sheikh that we will bring your wife. If you don't talk, we will bring your wife. He said, you know what? Bring my mother with my wife. Bring my mother with my wife. Do what you want. They were shocked. They're thinking, well, how do we break this man? How do we break this man? May Allah preserve him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him Jannah. Sacrifices. So there are people on this planet who would never shake. They wouldn't compromise or anything because they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us one of those. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from his tests. Ameen.